Hi everybody, it's Claire from Irvine Library here, and today we are in Irvine Library film room with our lovely big film screen behind me. And the reason we're in the film room is because we are going to talk about a Scottish author who is synonymous with one of Scotland's most iconic films, which is Trainspotting, and the author is Irvine Welsh. Now, before the film was the book is always better, and Trainspotting was actually his first novel, although it is actually written in short story format. They're not sequential, the stories, but they show all the characters that you know from the film and how they get to where they are. There's a lot more depth in the book, there's a lot more background in the book. The book always gives you a rounder picture of the characters. So if you have seen the film, please read the book, it is so much better than the film. Now, Irvine Welsh is renowned for this really distinctive writing style that is gritty and realistic, but harsh. He's looking at really dark themes of drug addiction, of abuse, of crime, of abortion, of deprivation, of poverty. He's looking at the question of Scottish identity when you're in these situations of deprivation and drug misuse and poverty. And what do you do when you've got no money? And what if crime is your only option? But he is looking at these really heavy themes from a sarcastic, darkly funny tone. So although you have not that much light material in Irvine Welsh, it is treated in a really uniquely Scottish, funny, humorous, energetic manner, and that elevates the writing. Some of his writing is like poetry. It is so beautiful. His imagery is stunning. So you can see past the swearing, you can see past the grotesqueness sometimes to the beauty of the writing and the actual really important narrative points that he's making about Scottish identity a lot of the time. So he will use punctuation maybe slightly differently than you would see in other writers. There's not a lot of speech marks. The characters' dialect is written phonetically to give you that real feel of Edinburgh dialect, and you just get used to that as you're reading along. It gives you that immersive experience. Most of his books are written in the first person narrative, so you're kind of in there with these really unique characters. All his characters have got a very distinctive voice, they have very distinctive personalities. They're mostly anti-heroes, they're kind of unsympathetic characters, but you will feel sympathy for them, you will root for them. You will want Spud Boy to kick his drug addiction. You will want Mark Renton to make it. You will become totally invested in these characters. Now, one of the things that I love about Irvine Welsh is that he creates this mini fictional universe. And what I mean by that is the characters that he does write about tend to reappear in his books and his short stories as well. He writes a lot of short stories. So if we take the iconic Trainspotting characters, you then can revisit them in Skag Boys, which is the prequel to Trainspotting and shows them kind of spiralling into their drug addiction, except for Begbie, he doesn't do drugs. And then they reappear in Porno, which was retitled Trainspotting 2, it's actually called Porno. We then have Begbie reinventing himself in The Blade Artist, and then they all come back together in Dead Man's Trousers. They also have smaller kind of cameo appearances, if you like, in different books. So if you do like these characters, you can revisit them, you can see what's happening with their lives, you can see their progression. Now that only works if the characters are authentic and you believe in them, you believe that this is where they'll be. And they are, and you will. If you look at Trainspotting 2, the characters are where you think they'll be. Begbie's in jail, Spud Boy's still not managed to kick his addictions, so it's believable. You can pick up the book and go, yep, I totally think this is where they would be, and you can then become involved with them again. And I love that about these books. Just going to talk very briefly about my favourite character, which is Francis Begbie, also known as Franco, also known as Jim Francis, later on in The Blade Artist when he's kind of reinvented himself as this family man. What I love about Begbie is, especially in the earlier books, he has no limits, there are no boundaries, there are no barriers to him doing anything. He's so unpredictable. He is ultra unnecessarily violent. And the reason I like reading about characters like this is because they're unpredictable. There is no way of knowing how Begbie is going to react to the most simple noise in a bar. You just don't know. And I love reading about characters like that. Especially in the earlier ones, he's kind of more raw and more real than the kind of reinvented Begbie of the later ones, where he's even got a different name. So these books are well worth reading. As I said, they are treated with humour. They are treated with sympathy, although they're unsympathetic characters in the most sympathetic situations. Some of the books are a little bit too horrific for me. Dead Man's Trousers talks about organ harvesting, just a little bit too far for me. But the earlier books are phenomenal and they should be read. This is Scotland's Year of Stories. We are celebrating that throughout South Ayrshire libraries, and these stories are part of Scotland's stories. They're not romantic, they're not pretty, but they are an important part of the Scottish story and they should be read. So try one of these or try something else. Bye for now.